So, dear students, today our topic is immunochemical techniques. It is the composition of two words. That is, immuno is a separate and chemical is a separate. It is related to the chemistry and techniques. So, these are the method and procedures. So, where they are employed for the chemistry. And already you know regarding the chemistry is a branch of the biomedical science. It can deals with the study of the substance, which matter they are composed, they are made, or what is the compositions of that molecule or substance. And also the chemistry is involved in the investigations of the properties and as well as certain reactions. So certain reaction it is responsible formations of the new compound. So that new compound composition, structure, property is most important. Okay. So when the chemical techniques, so they are employed to the immune system or immune. Immune is nothing but, so these are the immune components. So regarding the whatever the components, so those are involved in the to maintain the immunity like immunoglobulin, that is IgA, IgM, IgD, IgE, then as well as WBC, the different types of the WBC like basophils, neutrophils, eosinophils, then lymphocytes, both T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes, and monocytes. So these all are considered as the immune components. So when the chemistry is applied or chemical techniques is applied to the study of composition of the immune component, so their properties regarding their reactions or whatever the component new immune compound they are formed or produces in our body, if you are applying the methods and procedure for detections and integration, that is investigations of such new molecule, so that techniques is considered as the immunochemical techniques. So already you know, so regarding our immune body, so when any foreign substances or microorganisms, if it is enter into our body, definitely our immune system can be interacts. So from the WBC, the first, the neutrophils, so they are involved in the attacking the microorganisms. Okay, the neutrophils, first they involved. After that, eosinophil, basophils, so these are also involved to fight against the microorganisms. If those components are fail, then automatically that was hand over to the lymphocytes, T and B lymphocytes, or even monocytes. Then they are involved. Then if B lymphocytes are involved means, so they are releases the various immunoglobulins like IgA, IgM, IgD, okay, IgE. So these estimations of these component is give an idea regarding the endocrine diseases as well as infectious disease. For good example, so in the case of the hypersensitivity reactions, so hypersensitivity reaction is the one type of the severe allergic reactions due to entry of the foreign antigens or allergens in our body. So we are suffering from the allergy or hypersensitive reactions. If it is not treated, then the anaphylactic shock is occurs or the death is occurs. Anaphylactic shock means that is the immediately due to entry of allergens or hypersensitive reaction, automatically the shock is occurs. That is decrease the volumes or decrease the organ functions, especially brain functions. Due to that shock, anaphylactic shock, the death is occur due to the allergy. But so that was detected by monitoring the immunoglobulins like IgE. So IgE is always elevated. So when that candidate was suffering from the hypersensitive reaction, the severity of the hypersensitive reaction, so that was monitored by targeting the IgE. And as well as today decade disease, that is the COVID-19. So that was also detected by targeting the immunoglobulin M. It is also antibodies. It is also immune compound. It was secreted, it was released into your blood or secreted or synthesized. So when the coronavirus can enter into the our body, so our body can interact. Definitely, the body can interact. Okay, so how it can interact? So that is the WBC regarding eosinophil, basophils, and neutrophils, so they are fail. Then even the monocytes they cannot be engulf the viruses. Then the rest is, that is regarding the T lymphocytes, they are releases the cytokines. Are regarding the B lymphocytes, so they releases the IgM. So that IgM, it can fight against the coronavirus. Okay, if it is fail, then only that corona become the mortality or death can causes. Otherwise, within 14 days, the persons can be recovered if that persons are patient having the good immunity, immune power. So that's why, so nowadays the health professionals, so they are concentrated to improve the immunity in the populations by taking the kada or healthy food. Even best is the rest. The rest is also responsible for to improve the immunity, because during the rest the brain can concentrate the clearing of the body. For example, so our mother especially, so when she is having the holidays, so then only he is involved in the to clean the home. Otherwise in the daily life, she make the food for us, for fathers of us and our brother and sisters. So they everyone they go to college jobs, then time to time in the early morning they require the food. So that's why mother cannot be concentrate to clean the home in the routine life. But only Sunday she is involved in the to clean the kitchens, everything, because she having the lot of time to concentrate herself and home self. If the home is clean means she is concentrate herself after that. So like that, so our body is also, our brain is also to concentrate itself by when it was free. So that's why the rest is the best policy in the COVID-19. So it was responsible for to increase the immunity. If it is more rest means that is also harmful. Yesterday only we can learn that was increase the calcium level that can cause the hypercalcemia. So that is hypercalcemia is also hazardous. It's also responsible to cause of the various disorders. Only optimum rest you should be required. Okay, some durations are fixed. Then you have the daily exercise also. So like that, the estimations and determinations and identifications of the immune component by utilizing the various chemical techniques, and such chemical techniques are known as the immunochemical techniques. So these are helpful for the diagnosis of the various disorders commonly. So they are employed for the diagnosis of the endocrine diseases as well as the infectious disease that was caused due to entry of the microorganism. So now we can learn regarding the definitions of immunochemical techniques. The techniques which are used for identification, characterization and analysis, optimizations of proteins, then as well as peptide, even antigen antibody reaction is known as a immunochemical technique. So these chemical techniques, so they are mainly to helpful for to identify the proteins, because entry of the microsomes are hormonal imbalances. Because all endocrine hormones, so they are the protein in nature, and the enzymes, so these are also protein in nature. Due to certain metabolic disorder, the enzyme level either increases or decreases. Okay, by monitoring or determining the concentrations of those proteins or those enzymes, so those hormones, so they are helpful for the diagnosis of the various disease, and those component, so they are identified or determined, okay, estimated, so with the help of the certain chemical techniques. Those are known as simply immunochemical techniques. Also the immunochemical techniques, so they are monitor the antigen antibody reactions. Okay, so nowadays in early day, okay, within 2 to 3 days, so the doctors they identify he is serving from the COVID-19 or not, or suffering from what, they can diagnose the COVID-19. How? Because so every microorganisms when they enter in our body means that is acts as the antigens. They produce the disease by release of antigens into the our bloodstream. By targeting that antigens, detections of that antigen is helpful for diagnosis of the COVID-19. Like that, various infectious disease, so that was targeted by or identified by initiating the antigen antibody reactions. So they take the lot of time. So to identify first antigens, okay, which antigen that was increases in our body, so due to entry of particular microorganisms, so that is also identified by the immunochemical techniques. And after that, which antibodies, so that was interacts with that antigen, then forms the antigen antibody complex, then detections of that antigen antibody complex, so that full helpful for the diagnosis of disease. It takes the lot of time. Okay, so they are patient serum, so they're exposed to the different types of antibodies. Then finally, so where the reaction is occur, so that they can be identified or quantified. That is also possible with the help of the immunochemical techniques. For the diagnosis of COVID-19, the first kit was developed by the Punekar madams. Okay, she is first identify the antigens, so that was present in the serum of the patient. She is collecting the serums from the COVID-19 patients. Then she is subjected to the immunochemical techniques, and she is identified some new molecule that was found in the blood, that is the antigens. Then she tried to find out the antibodies. Okay, that antibodies, it can react with that antigen, it can form the uh, that is the antigen antibody reaction, and on the paper, that is the it will forms the one band, so that band is reflects the presence of antigen, otherwise that band cannot be developed. So like that, the kit is now available, antigen antibody kit. So what they containing, they containing antibodies, so that can discovered by that Punekar madams. Okay, so that was plated on that papers, that is thin layer chromatographies. Okay, so that paper contain antibodies. So when you is putting the serum, so that serum can be diffusions. During the diffusion, so it can interact with the antibodies, then can form the certain band. So presence of that band indicates so that candidate was suffering from the COVID-19 or particular disease. So that is also detected new and pro antigens, that also that what that antigens whom to it can react, or which kind of antibodies, so that can be react to form the antigen antibody reaction, that whole, so that was the identified by the only the immunochemical techniques. And this technique first developed by in the year 1957 by a scientist, that is the Rosalind Allows and as well as the Solomon Burson. So these are the two scientists, so they are developed the first radioimmunoassay in the year 1957. So now still it is continue. It is having the huge scope in the diagnosis of the disease, as well as it is helpful for to know down the outcome of the therapy also. So whatever therapy are given, whether that antigen is decreases or not. Once again, the example is the confirmations of the COVID-19 after the treatment, after the isolations or treatment, whether the COVID-19 virus is completely removed from that patient's body or circulation or not. That is also confirmed. So with the help of the immunochemical techniques. But the methods are now day by day, so they are modified. Okay, so regarding the role, so the immunochemical techniques, so they are helpful for to identify the new and as well as novel proteins. Okay, so whatever the entry of mechanism, so they produce certain new proteins. By targeting that protein, we can identify the diagnosis the disease, or we can identify the endocrine disorders as well as infected disease by identifying new and novel protein with the help of the immunochemical techniques from the serum. Okay, next as well as, so it is this technique, it was helpful for the determinations of the species or tissue in which the protein or residue is expressed. Expressed means the changes in their structure. The changes of in the protein structure that was cause abnormal endocrine disorder or metabolic disorders. Okay, any structural changes in the insulin or what are the proteins, so they are present in the beta cells or insulin receptor, that was known as the protein expression. So due to expression, the resistance was developed. Due to resistance, the insulin was failed to enhance the penetrations of the glucose inside the cell. So that expressions protein is also determined by a immunochemical techniques, then only it is helpful for the development of the new drug, so that drug can avoid the expressions or that drug can treat the or correct the that protein expression and helpful for the management of the various chronic disorder including the diabetes mellitus. So like that, so this immunochemical technique that is also helpful for the determinations of the species or tissues in which that protein, particular protein residue, so that can be expressed. So next one, it is also helps for detections of the variations of the expressions of protein during the development of the organisms. So how the proteins can be expressed or changes or new protein can be produced. So that was required for the development of the organisms. For examples, once again, certain mycobacteria, especially the Mycobacterium leprae, it was required the protein compounds like a PABA. There is a para-aminobenzoic acid. So that is also identified with the immunochemical technique. If you're targeting or you're inhibiting that protein means with the help of drug means, so that drug can treat the leprosy or bacterial infection. So that's why the protein is also helpful for the development of the new drugs or therapy for by studying the development process in the organisms. So with the help of the immunochemical techniques. So another one, so it can use the informations regarding the variations of proteins useful for the diagnosis and treatment. So it is give the so variations of proteins. So for example, once again, that is the corona infection. So it is due the productions of the special proteins in our serum, that is spike proteins, or also known as the covid vhe that is our covid vhe envelope proteins. By targeting that protein, we can identify the presence of coronavirus, or inhibiting that protein we can kill the or eradicate the coronavirus from our blood. So like that, so it is technique is also helpful for the diagnosis and as well as development of the treatment for the particular infections or endocrine disorders. Okay, so next we can discuss regarding the various types of the immunochemical techniques. So the plenty of or more and more techniques are available. So among so these 7 techniques, so they are commonly used for the determinations of the hormones levels and proteins levels in the serum for the endocrine disease as well as the infectious disease. Many methods are there, but among these 7, only the popular. So they are commonly used for the diagnosis of the disorders as well as the infected disease. So one is the first one is the immunoassay. So it is the biochemical technique that can measure the concentrations of substance in a biological fluid. Okay, it can measure the concentrations of substance in a biological fluid. So this technique is commonly employed for the diagnosis of the endocrine disorders, because endocrine disorder may be hypo or hyper. For example, if we are suffering from the hyperthyroidism means by monitoring the T3 T4 level in the blood, so that can give the idea regarding the hyperthyroidisms. So during the hyperthyroidism, T3 T level and T4 level and as well as the thyroid stimulating hormone level was increases. By quantifying or by monitoring the measuring the that substance through a immunoassay, it was helpful for the diagnosis of the hypo or hyperthyroidism. So like that, the immunoassay, so it is helpful for to measure the concentrations of the substance in a biological fluid, that was helpful for the various kind of the endocrine disorders or many other infectious disease where the protein level or substance level either increases or decreases. Okay, next one is the radioimmunoassay. It is a modified forms of the immunoassay. So this technique is used for detecting the antigen antibody complex. Okay, here simply radio labeled antigen is administered and quantify or estimate that antigen only. If disease is there means so that concentration was decreases. If this is not present means how much you are administered radio labeled antigen, that much only present in the serum. By estimating or detecting these antigen antibody radio labeled, so that was helpful for the diagnosis or monitoring the concentrations of the substances from the blood. So next one is the enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. It is the modified form of the radioimmunoassay. So here the antigen or antibody, so they are liganded with the enzyme. So in the radioimmunoassay, the radio labeled isotopes are used to ligand the antigens or antibody. But in the enzyme linked, say the enzymes was used to ligand with the antigen and antibody, then monitor the so those antigen and antibody. So that technique was known as the enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. So it is a technique used for both determining the serum antibody concentration and as well as detecting the presence of antigen and antibody. So that was helpful for the diagnosis of the various infectious disease. Also to monitor the endocrine disorder or to determine the endocrine diseases or disorders. So next one, that is the immunoprecipitations by applying the chemicals or antibodies to initiate the precipitations of the immune component. By monitoring that precipitation, that was helpful for the diagnosis of the disease. So it is the one of the technique for detecting the particular antigen in a given cell or tissue by initiating the precipitations of that antigen. If the precipitation is formed means certain particular color is formed. If that color is formed means it can confirm definitely so that antigen was present due to that candidate was suffering from the that particular disorder or disease. So that kind of techniques is known as the immunoprecipitation techniques. So next one is the immunoelectrophoresis. It is a technique commonly used in the clinical laboratories to detect the presence and absence of the protein in the serum. It is also it is a modified form of the immunoassay. It is also helpful for to monitor the presence of the proteins or absence of the protein in the serum. That was helpful for to determine the various endocrine disorder, and in some cases it is helpful for the detections of the infected disease. And here it was detected on the basis of the movement of the proteins by applying the current. In this method the current is applied. So due to applying of current, so what are the proteins are present in the patient serum, so they are moved in the opposite. Okay, those protein having negative charge, so they move towards the positive electrode, and those proteins having the negative charge, so they move towards the positive electrode, and those protein having negative charge, so they towards the positive, and positive protein move towards the negative electrode. Then they can estimate it by initiating the once again antibody antigen reaction. That antibody antigen complex can be monitored with the help of the certain techniques, and such techniques is known as the immunoelectrophoresis. So next one, that is the immunofluorescence. It is also one of the commonly technique comes under the immunochemical technique. So in this technique used to labeling the antibodies. So once again the antibodies are labeled with the isotopes and monitor the antibodies present in our body, so that can give the exact idea regarding the disease. And as well as so this immunofluorescence technique that was used to note down the distributions of the drug. So the drug can be radioliganded and it is monitored in the body with the help of the fluorescent by detecting the body with the scanner. So how the drug is concentrated in the brain or liver or kidney. So definitely in the next year we in the pharmacology will learn regarding the this drug is excreted through the kidney, or this drug is excreted through the liver. So how they are established that properties. Okay, so that property can established with the help of the immunofluorescence or fluorescence technique. Simply that drug was ligand, then they monitor the body. So how the drug can go where the drug is go from stomach or from intestine to the liver, if it go to liver, or it can go to the brain, or it can go to the directly kidney. So like that, they monitoring the light in the body with the help of the fluorescence. We can got the certain criteria regarding the drug like that. Also, so the antibodies, so they are uh, fluorescent with the help of the certain fluorescent agents are radioligand, and with the help of this technique, so they can monitor the those antibodies. Okay, so next one is the immunohistochemistry. It is also one of the important technique used in the immunochemical technique. So in which technique they are used for localizing the proteins in the cells of a tissue sections. So what are proteins? So they are present in the cells or tissue section. So that was studied or identified with the help of the immunohistochemistry. That is also helpful for, so the reason to find out the reason for the disease, a reason for the death of that organ by studying the that is the changes of the proteins in the cells and tissues. Okay, so that study is known as the immunohistochemistry. So like that, so these are the main 7 types of the immunochemical technique commonly used in the immunochemical technique for the diagnosis of the various endocrine disease as well as the infectious disease. So next one, so that is the regarding the immunoassay. So immunoassay, it is one type of the assay. So that was helpful for to determine the presence of the antigens or antibodies or protein in the body by through a assay method. Simply, it was helpful for the diagnosis of the endocrine disorders as well as the infected disease. So regarding the definition, so immunoassay is an analytical technique. So it's used for the quantifications of the analyte based on the antigen antibody reactions. It means the immunoassay, it is not only identify the presence of antigens, it is also estimate the how much quantity that was present in the body by initiating the antigen antibody reaction. So that's why the immunoassay commonly employed for the determinations of the endocrine disorder or diseases. Okay, so regarding the types of immunoassay, so the immunoassay mainly classified into 4 types. That is the radio immunoassay, also written as the RIA. Then enzyme linked immunosorbent assay, that is the also commonly known as the ELISA. Then fluoroimmunoassay, it is written as a FIA. Then chemiluminescence immunoassay, it is written as the CLIA or CILIA. So these are the different types of the immunoassay. So those are helpful for the diagnosis of the endocrine diseases or diagnosis of monitoring of the concentrations of the hormones in our body, or monitor the concentrations of the immunoglobulin, so in our body or in our serum, that is also determined or estimated, so with the help of the immunoassay. So regarding the applications of immunoassay, it is used for to monitor the, that is the hormones level in various disorders, or normally also it was helpful for to monitor the concentrations of the hormones in the serum or in the body. Then also it is used to detect the antigens in a diseases or disorders. So this immunoassay is helpful for the detections of the antigens and in a diseases as well as the disorder. So regarding the principle, here we can discuss regarding the insulin therapy. Okay, so regarding the to monitor the plasma concentrations of the insulin. So here the method is simply, it is the match the result with the patient who received the insulin therapy and patient who does not receive the insulin therapy. Okay, so principle is simply, so where the what is the data, so they are obtained in the patient, so that was matched with the normal patients or healthy patients or those patients, so they do not receive the therapy. Example is the insulins. Okay, so here the patient received the therapy and here they received the insulin therapy, and here the insulin is acts as the antigens. Okay, what are the substances are there, so they are the exogenous. Definitely those substances are acts as the antigen to the our body. So definitely if those exogenous substances or hormones enter in your body means definitely so they are produces the antibodies in the serum. Definitely. So those patients, so they are issued the insulin therapy, definitely that patient will have the antibody in serum. And patient who does not receive the insulin therapy, so that patient do not have any antibodies in the serum. By targeting, by quantifying the, so these antibodies or estimate these antibodies by a immunoassay, that was helpful for to diagnosis of the concentrations of the insulin in a diabetes mellitus. Simply, okay, so here, so in the both cases, in the both populations, they are inject the that is the radio insulin, that is the radioligand insulin, that is the 131I insulin. It is known as the labeled insulin. It is the target. In the next step, we can monitor. We suppose we administered 1 nanogram of radioligand insulin. Okay, we administered by, that is the IV route, by inject. Then after some time, we can monitor how much of radioligand insulin is present, because through IV route 100% of this radio insulin, that is the I insulin, is enter into the serum or into the blood. If the patients having the received the insulin therapy means definitely its intensity is decreases. Okay, because so these antibodies, it can react with the this insulin and replaces the, so this antigens from the, so this insulin antibodies. Okay, then by absorptions of the intensity of the radio insulin 131 insulin, it can give the regarding the how much insulin is secreted in the patient's body. Okay, it is give the idea regarding the, so it is the main principles of the immunoassay. So next regarding the radioimmunoassay, so it is the technique, it is the type of the immunoassay. So this technique which is used for the determinations of the antigen antibody reactions. Okay, it is important also for the to estimate of the serum plasma insulin level. Okay, so this is the instrument. It is a radioimmunoassay. So these are the samples of the patient. So they are at a time they given to the machine, and machines can be monitor and give the exact how much insulin or how much that particular antigen antibody is present in the that patient serum. That is the mechanism. It is the based on the antigen antibody reaction, and here the protein molecule can be separated. So this technique of radioimmunoassay has revolutionized the research and clinical practice in many years. So this technique is commonly employed or used for in the research as well as in the case of the clinical practice. It is also used in the blood banking and diagnosis of the allergy, and as well as the diagnosis of the various endocrinology or endocrine disorder. Even that is helpful for to note down the normal functions of the endocrine system. So it is the based on the immunoassay. Okay, so next one. So regarding the principle, so here in the image you can clarify it. So they are administered the, that is the radioactive antigen and antibody. So they administered the antibodies. So they are labeled with the antigens. So this is known as the labeled antigens, or sorry, labeled antibody. So that can contain the antigens. That is the, so that antigen is a radioactive antigens. You can note down. So it is administered by the IV route, and in the last step after administration, So they want to monitor how much radioactive antigen so that was present in the administered antibody. Okay, dear students, so they administered the antibodies, so that was ligand with the radioactive. Suppose once again 1 nanogram. So after administered into the IV route, in the last step, so they monitor how much administered antigen is present that was radioactive. If the patient suffering from the disease means, definitely, so that patient having the antigen, so that antigen, it can replaces this instead of radioactive antigen. So this patient antigen was attached, then the concentrations of radioactive antigen is decreases. Okay, that is the presence of the amount of antigen. If more antigen presence means the more radioactive antigen was decreases. So instead of 1 nanogram, it can give the results regarding the 0.01 nanogram also if the disease severity. But you are administered 1 nanogram. But due to presence of antigen, so these antigen in the patients are known as the unlabeled antigen. And these antigen replaces this antigen. Those are present in the radioligand antibody. Okay, or radioactive antigen where they are bind, same places these are bind if the patient having the disease. Okay, then when you're in the last step, when you're monitoring the percentage of administered antigen that was decreases. If it is decreases means it can give the idea regarding the presence of antigens or absence of the antigens. Okay, so this radioligand they are administered, then so this antigen so they are replaces the radioligand antigens, then the radioactivity of antigen they are present in the supernatant, and these whatever the antibodies are there, so they can be precipitate, so they are known as the second antibody having the less radioactivity. So due to that, when you are quantifying, then this amount was decreases, and it is reciprocal to the how much antigen or how much hormone or how much antibodies or foreign substances so they are present in our body. So this is the principle. Say, okay, suppose, dear students, if you want to diagnosis the whether the patient having suffering from hyperthyroidism or not. Simple. He is suffering from the hyperthyroidisms or not. So already you know the normal concentrations of T3 and T4 in the plasma. So T3 percentage is 20% and T4% is the 80. That is considered as the normal thyroid functions. In the case of the hyperthyroidism, so this concentration in the plasma is increases. Okay, and already you know, so these hormones acts as a antigen. Okay, so these hormones acts as a antigen into your body. Okay, so and here we are administered the antibodies, so they are attached with the our thyroid hormones. Okay, they are attached with the radioligand, that is the I-131 commonly employed. So these are attached with the antibodies. So the antibody selection is, so this antibody can reacts with this antigen. You select that antibody, so definitely that antibody can reacts with the or form the complex with the antigens of the T3 and T4. It is an examples. Okay, and here we are administer the that is a radioligand attached antibodies, then you administer by one different quantity, suppose once again 1 nanogram. When you administer to the patient, so then so whatever the antigen present in the patient blood, it can replaces this radioligand, that is a 131I, that is the iodine. It replaces this iodine and it can place the here our blood antigen. So like that, the concentrations of the radioligand antigen that was decreases according to the concentrations of T3, T4 they are present in the blood. Okay, So those administered antibody, they contain radioactive antigen that was known as the labeled antigens. So if our antigen is replaced means that was known as the unlabeled antigens. In the last step, we are monitor how much administered antigen, that is radioactive antigen, is present in serum or not. If it is replaced from the administered antibody means it can precipitate. Precipitate means neutralized simply. Okay, the neutralization is depending upon the amount of T3 or T4. Okay, first you subject to T3, later on you subject to another method, you can subject to T4. How much T3 present, that much antigen was replaces. Okay, then in finally when you quantifying the, or you estimating the these antigen, you can got the idea regarding how much T3 is elevated or how much T4 was elevated. So this is the simple principle of the radioimmunoassay that was helpful for the diagnosis of disease. Or in the case of infected disease, once again COVID-19, it can produce the certain type of the antigen. Okay, we administer the, or we can mix the radioligand antibody with the patient serum. Okay, and in the last method, in the after some time, after waiting for 24 hours, after 24 hours, once again we are monitor the sample how much, so this radioactive antigen is present on the antibody. If the, if suppose we are mixing with the fixed 1 nanogram of the, so that antibody, okay, which ligand with the radioactive antigen. Okay, if same is present after 24 hours, when you monitoring this radioactive antigen, it means that patient do not having any COVID-19 antigens. If the patient serum having the antigen means it can denote, because it is also bind on the same places and it can replaces the, so this radioactive antigen, okay, like that, and this radioactive antigen present in the supernatant layer and it was precipitate or it was neutralized. Okay, then it can, its concentration was decreases after 24 hours. If you monitor, if the administered radioactive antigen in 1 nanogram that was decreases means it indicates the patient is suffering from the COVID-19. So like that, so radioimmunoassay is helpful for the diagnosis of the diseases. So regarding the procedure, so the assay procedure, a known quantity of antigen, it is made radioactive. Okay, so the antigen you can make the radioactive. Example, the gamma radioactive isotopes of iodine attached to the tyrosines. So tyrosine is the enzyme. Okay, so then it is mixed with the known amount of antibody for that antigens. Whatever the antigen you are used for radioliganded, so same for that antigen you also have the knowledge regarding the antibody. So that can mix. As a result, it can form the two chemically bond one another, and this is known as the radio labeled antigens. Okay, then so this is mixed with the sample containing unknown antigen. Simple here is the serum, patient serum or unknown sample. So where you want to monitor the that antigen concentration, whether it is present or not. If it is present, how much it was present. So that was the monitor. Then after that, it can cause the unlabeled, that is our code, that is the antigen from the serum to compete with the radio labeled antigen that is hot for the antibody binding site. So where, so this radioactive antigen present in same site, the patient antigens can be compete for the binding. If it is definitely it was replaces, then it was bind, then that this radioligand or labeled antigen become the unlabeled antigens. Then it become the unlabeled antigen concentration is more, so it is free in the labeled antigens. This labeled antigen with float superant and measured by using the gamma counter. It can give the idea regarding the how much antigen is present in the serum or patient samples. Okay, so here the targeted is we can monitor the how much radio labeled antigen is present from the fixed administered concentration. If person suffering from any person suffering disease means the intensity of the radio labeled antigen is decreases. If healthy person means that cannot be replaced because the patient do not have any antigen, then intensity of the radio labeled antigen that was increases. Whatever administered, that much only we can got. Some variation is there plus or minus. Same amount will be found by the gamma counter. If the patient having the antigen in their serum means having disease in the disease means definitely that patient having the antigen, then the intensity of the radio labeled antigen that was decreases. The same assay procedure is also employed for the estimations of the hormones in the endocrine disorder or diseases by targeting the administered radio labeled antigens against the diseases or against the hormones in the endocrine disorder. If same amount is present in the end after mixing with the serum means then there is no disease or there is no hormonal increases or decreases. If it is decreases then it can give the idea regarding the disease present or not. And also the concentrations can be estimated by plotting the graph, that is the concentration versus intensity. Okay, this graph is developed from the healthy persons. They do not have any coronavirus. They are having the calibration curve, that is known as calibration curve. This was the fixed. It gives the negative reflections. Okay, so as the concentration increases, then the it decreases. So then your disease patient's intensity is match any one of the curve. Then you can find out the how much concentrations of that hormone or antigen is present in the patient. That is also quantified with the help of the radio amino assay. So next one is the advantages. It is a highly specific. Immune reactions are specific, and also the high. It is highly sensitive, then as well as possible to detect the picogram of the antigens in small quantities also detected, and spirophase beds used in the RA are usable. So whatever the beds you are using in the isolation suppressions of the antigens from the patient, and those plates is also reusables and also reused. Okay, application regarding the radioimmunoassay, it is analysis of hormones, vitamins, metabolites, and diagnostic markers, and also it is helpful for the there is a development of the TDM or therapeutic drug monitoring after administration of the drug. So where the drug can be go, how much drug is required to produce the minimum effective concentration in the plasma. That is the MEC. This concentration only it can treat the disease. For example, there is a paracetamol 650. It is required for the treatment of the fever. Okay, it is the adult dose. If you are administered instead of 650, only you can administer 200 mg to the patient means in plasma concentration it cannot be increases. Okay, if the plasma concentration cannot be achieved particular strength means that cannot be treat the fever. So that is known as the therapeutic drug monitoring or MES by fixing the how much dose is required to show the effectiveness without any ADR, because still you are using instead of 650 using the 1000 at a time means it can produce the ADR due to high concentration. It can increases the more in the plasma. As the plasma concentration is more, then the ADR is more instead of the therapeutic effect. If the concentration decreases, then the therapeutic effect uses is also decreases. And that how much drug can be administered, it will be having the mid layer of plasma concentration that cannot be cause ADR and cannot be decline the therapeutic uses. So that is known as that is the minimum effective concentration where it can treat the disease without any ADR. That was known as the therapeutic drug monitoring, that is also developed or monitored with the help of the radioimmunoassay. Then it is also one of the important job for the PharmD candidates. Okay, then diagnostic procedure for the detecting infection is also done with the help of the radioimmunoassay. Then narcotic drug reductions in the blood, that is also done with the help of radioimmunoassay. And tracking the leukemia viruses, then as well as diagnosis and treatment of the various peptic ulcer. Then also it is helpful for to research the neurotransmitter is nothing but these are the protein substances. Okay, they are isolated, so they are separated using the Sepharose beds. Okay, then after that they are identified with the help of the antigen antibody reaction. So that's why, so these radioimmunoassays are also helpful for the research for the diagnosis of the new neurotransmitters or transmitters concentrations in the various disease. So these are regarding the advantages, application and method, and okay, regarding the radioimmunoassays.